Okay. This has been fun. I really am enjoying making these little tiny books. You can see pretty soon I'm going to have a little library of my little swatch books. And it just makes it really fun. And also, it's not only that, I am able to just see what colors do, and then I can make a note on the back of the paper what they do. And it's a nice little reference, and it's just also a very mindful experience for us. So what we need to do, and you've got the supplies, but we're going to start with our watercolor swatches first, just because we want to have time for our paints to dry. So take out your favorite watercolors, whatever they are, or even colors that you haven't used in a while, or some that you would like to try and you just don't know what to do with them. I mean, anything you've got is fine. And I just have sheets, loose sheets. I've got little spare sheets of watercolor papers. It's also kind of cool to just, if you have watercolor papers or pads that you've never tried, and you just want to see how they act, with the watercolor, this is a good time to do it too. So I've just got some different brands of papers, and let's see, I'm not even try a hot press. Here's some hot press. I think that's hot press. So just basically for the swatching part, the mixing part, we're just going to have some fun. Now, what I like to do is to keep my swatches. Our books are going to be the pages will be approximately 1 inch by 1 1/4, and that's kind of an approximate, depending on how the book is folded. So we're going to make sure our swatches are at least that big, hopefully, just to kind of so you can cut them down. So be kind of generous with the size, a little about maybe 1 1/2 by 2 inches. If you want to make a little template, that's fine. If you wanted to take a ruler and just mark out, your little your swatches. I'm just doing it by eye, but if you just want to give space for about 1 1/4 by 2 inches, then you can make a really nice book with your swatches. So we're going to start with the swatching. And what I have is a set here. I kind of, actually, I don't remember what this, this is just my favorite colors. My favorite colors of the week anyway. I seem to change my color, what I like to do. But you can also get this was an old set that I have at Prima Tech. These are mineral watercolors. And of course, one of them got stuck in the other, so I'm going to have to do a little repair. But I could play with that too, just see what they do, because it's been a while since I've used this set. So this is just kind of nice to be able to get to know your sets. If you don't have a thing like this, a trimmer, that's fine. You don't need one. A pair of scissors will just be fine. But I have this little paper trimmer to make work fast, so you can have that. You'll need your strip of paper, which is 4 inches by 18 inches long. If you don't have if you didn't have an 18-inch long pad, you could just attach your 11-inch. Just take 2 11-inch strips, which I'll just show you real quick. So actually, you just take one sheet of paper, cut 4 inches, join it at the ends. And I don't have my long paper cutter here right now. But let's say, even if you don't have a paper cutter, you can just mark, this is 5 1/2, but let's say you want to mark it, let's say 4 inches, you just mark it, cut it down, and then join them at the ends with some washi tape. And that's how you can get your strip for that, if you wanted to do it that way. I happen to have a long sheet, and yesterday I thought it would be fun. I'm not going to show you the whole, I won't spray right now because it's a mess to spray. But yesterday I took the same rice paper, the white rice paper, and I took some acrylic watercolor, acrylic ink. It was a golden high flow, and I sprayed it. I thinned it out in some water and put it in a spray bottle and sprayed both sides. And so now I have these really gorgeous papers to work with as my book, for my book pages, which I think it's going to look really nice. So we'll fold that after we do our watercolor swatches. So just kind of going over all the supplies for our thing today. Now, if you want to just watercolor swatch basic colors, you can do that. You can also do blends. I think today would be fun to do just like 2 color blends like this. Or you can just take out your colors and just swatch out. We want to do about 14 swatches, however you want to do it. So I'm just got my water, got my paints. I'm just going to play. And you take just take a color, like even a color that you normally won't use. Like I don't know why, but I rarely use reds, and I don't know why. But I'd like to try exploring reds. So I'm going to put down some color. The way I'm doing is I had wet my brush, and I'm doing just a wash with my most concentrated at the top, and sort of fading as it goes down. Now that's one way to do it, and just take your brush and just drag it down with plenty of water. So I'm going to show you how much water I get here. So I go into to the dish or whatever your water container is, and I get it loaded up pretty good with water. And let's see, I'm going to try, now that's just a single wash, a single swatch. If I want to take this color, I don't even know what that is. Of course, I've written them down, so I got this green, and I actually, got some red in it, which is okay, because I'm going to do a swatch anyway, of a blended swatch. So I've got this green. I think this is called undersea green. And then I'm going to take that same red, why not, and see what happens. I'm going to bring it from the bottom up, kind of going up. I just want to see how those colors merge, and it will look way different when it's dry. And this is a good time to just play with that. So I need to get all my water out this time. That red is really intense, whatever it is. And I think it's called permanent red, and that's also a Daniel Smith color. So just for fun, I'm going to take out this green apatite, which is a really interesting green. It's a Daniel Smith green too. It's really super strong. You see how, I think that's green. Yeah, that's green apatite. And I'm just going to put halfway there with the green apatite. And then I'm going to try, just to try something different, I'm going to try this stuff called Rose of Ultramarine. And it's kind of it's a purpley color with a blue, kind of has a blue undertone. And really to do this properly, I need to take this and bring it to match, or bring it to meet the green, and let that kind of merge together. So we'll see what happens with that. So you can just take other colors that you have, whatever you have in your palette, just play and see, and things that you don't normally work with. Like I don't normally do siennas, which I really would like to keep. I think it's beautiful. This one's called quinacridone sienna. It's a very transparent, beautiful, mixing orangey, rusty color. And just to be crazy, I'm going to try a quinacridone magenta right to blend it and see what happens. So I'm going to just take it, turn it around, and I'm going to bring that magenta right into it and let that dance together. So I've got 4 swatches, and we'll want at least 14 at least. And these are plenty big enough to cut into my squares or into my little rectangles. And these were smaller, but it's okay, whatever size you want to do. These are probably a little large, but I've got a larger piece of paper today. So now this is an indigo color, which I think is really pretty. It's a very beautiful color we used for our seascapes. Very good for ocean. And that one's a Winsor & Newton indigo, I think. Or this, yeah, these are, I don't know what brand this is. I should have written it down, but I'm pretty sure it's Winsor & Newton. The only one is the indigo that is not Winsor & Newton. The rest are Daniel Smith. So now I'm just going to put a little phthalo turquoise, which I think is a gorgeous color to blend with this, because it is so ocean-like. So these are kind of things that you want to play with when you're going to do a painting, and just to see how they work and see how they granulate, or if they granulate, what do they do? Do they make mud, or do they make gorgeous color combinations? You just have to try them out. So there's a color here that I see. I'm going to just take my mineral colors, because I don't play with those very often. And these I've marked them I haven't marked them, but they are all mineral colors, except I have a couple of transparent colors in there. I'm just going to pick one color and put it down here. This is a beautiful color, and I believe this is called rhodonite. And it's a little harder to get it to dissolve so that you get your colors. And just for fun, I'm going to try this thing called Sleeping Beauty Turquoise. And That is actual, it's made with pigment plus and a little bit of real turquoise. That's kind of what they do. I think they don't just make it all minerals, it's actually a blend. And that's cool. That one actually spreads really nice into the pink, or the rhodonite, I think that's what it's called. I'm going to let that sit. And just for fun, I'm going to take, I have no idea what that color is, but let's see what it is when I swatch it out. It's a nice, beautiful green. It is a mineral green, but I don't know which mineral green it is. I probably should have swatched that out. And just to do something different, I'm going to take this Sedona. It's like it's made out of, I believe it's a Sedona red rock stuff. I think they call it Sedona. Oh boy, I'll have to check. But it's something about Sedona, which is a place that I live very close to. I'm within a little short drive to Sedona, so I thought I would give homage to Sedona. Maybe I'll add a little of this other Sedona color. That color just doesn't want to dissolve fast enough, and this one is a lot more red rock looking. So I'm just going to see how those blend. And then what else? Something here. I'll try this. It's like a blue, and it's probably azurite or something. It's very delicate. I really can't get a lot of color out of that, but that would be gorgeous for a sky. So this is what you would just work with when you're working with watercolors. See what they do. Stretch them to their limit. This one's, I believe, is amethyst. Nope, that's not. It's a different color, but it's a beautiful, it kind of has a nice bluish black color. So now I've got 8 swatches, and I'm going to just try, I'll set those aside, let them dry. I'm just going to try some other colors. I've got these Jean Haynes colors, which, oh boy, they are amazing. That's it's a set that Daniel Smith came out with, and if you haven't checked out Jean Haynes' work, oh wow, it's stunning. So just having some Jean Haynes, just her color palette in one of these palettes really is they're just beautiful, especially for people who like to do natural, like florals or seascapes, or just natural things from nature. This is called Cascade Green, and that is one of my favorite greens. It kind of has a blue tone with some green. It's very interesting. I can't even explain it. This other color is called Imperial Violet. Just kind of make some colors, whatever you have, make some really crazy color combinations that you would never think about doing. Make a note in your mind, or write them down right underneath. Like if I wanted to, right now, I could take my pencil and write down, which is probably smart. So I could just take a little, get that pencil to come out. Here I can just put Cascade Green and Imperial Violet, and that will remind me what that is. And I could write that on the back of it when it's dry. And that's kind of another way to do it. If you want to be real technical and kind of remember everything, so you'll be able to repeat that in your watercolors. So there's this other color. It's a really interesting. This is a beautiful color. It looks kind of rusty when it's in the pan, but when you put it on the paper, it is really super brilliant yellow gold. I think I'll mix it with something crazy with this color called Opera. And Opera is it's kind of an available color in many brands. And the only thing about it, if you want to sell it in it, not that I do that, I'm not going to put it in a gallery or anything, but Opera it fades over time. So just have that in mind. If you want to have a painting in your home or something, Opera is one that's good to be mixed with, but the actual pigment is fugitive, just as if that matters. It doesn't matter to me anymore. It used to, but not anymore. I think that the paint will outlive me, so as long as I get some joy. Now this one is called Moon Glow. This is fun. It's kind of a gray, purpley gray, and it's awesome for shadows. I want to try it with something I've never tried before, like something Like, what could I try it with? Some really weird yellow, this nickel azo color. It looks green in the pan, but it is not. It's a very beautiful yellow. It's actually very transparent. I'm just going to see what those do. So now I've got 8, 9, 10, 11 colors now. So I'm just going to let's do a few more swatches. I'll do 3 more, and then what we'll do is we'll set our swatches aside. They do take a little time to dry. So that's that one. And now, just for fun, I'm going to try some more colors that I had tried in this. This is my mineral color set. That is that beautiful black, and I don't know what it is, but it's so pretty. I'll have to look at their swatches. Daniel Smith has swatches, and then I can compare these and be able to identify the color. So just for fun, I'm going to take this blue that's in here, and I think this one's actually an ultramarine blue, and just see what happens when those kind of go together. One color I see is this is a spreading color. It really wants to spread, which is beautiful. You'll notice colors do granulate, some spread, some don't. This is your time to play with that and not think about a composition or a picture in mind. And that makes your pictures even more, when you do make your pictures, you have the freedom of your colors are beautiful. And I seem to do a lot of greens together, but I'm going to do this green apatite with this magenta and see what happens. Watch it just blend into something else in the middle. One more color combination. I have no idea what to do. Let's see, I haven't done a lot of purple, so I'm going to take this Imperial Purple. I'm going to just drag it, and my brush is pretty wet. And you can use a flat wash brush or just this one, and just as I say, just as you're dragging it down, it does lighten as you go down the page or the paper. And let's see, let's do a turquoise with that. See what happens. That turquoise just is so pretty. It's spread really nicely. So there, I'm just going to let that do its thing. Oh, I know what this is. This is called Lunar Black. That black color that I was talking about, that's called Lunar Black. And it granulates really, it's just amazing. And if you mix it with other colors, which I'm going to just do a quick thing, right? Just another swatch, because I can make choices of which swatches I want to use in my book. And I'm going to try this Lunar Black and mix it with something else. And now that oops, that's not it. There, it's over here. It's a very granulating, very rich color. And just to see what happens, I'm going to mix it with, that beautiful yellow color, the Aussie red gold. Just going to see what happens when those go together. Not combinations I would normally do, but this is the time to try different things. And while that's drying, or I might as well, while I'm using that, I'm going to do a purple with that Lunar Black and see what happens. Here's the Lunar Black. Just watch them do their thing. All right, so I'm finished painting. So we should be finished painting. And this is interesting, the way, it'll be fun to see when it dries. But the granulation on the Lunar Black will go into the color that whatever color you've mixed it with. It looks like it's a very strong pigment for that. So put away your colors, because when you are folding, you don't want to have colors anywhere. You don't want to have anything wet. You want your table surface to be dry. We have someone coming in, and I'll say hello, and then she knows the drill. All right. Hi, Marlene. Welcome. We started. We'll talk when we're finished. Glad that you're here. Okay, so now we've got our paint. We've got our paints put away, and we are ready to start folding. And if you've done this before, you're going to be an old hat at this. You kind of know how to do this book, but I think it's going to be fun to just put something together. And all the things we've done so far, to put something together to make a complete story, to make something finished, and that's the fun part. So you pretty much, I think all of you have done this book before, this fold. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it, this cute little fold. And this is called the Blizzard book. Let's see, this is the 4-inch by 18-inch strip, but if you do have one that's joined in the middle, that's okay. Let me just grab a little, there we go. So what we're going to do first is you find your wrong or the right side of the paper, whatever that is. So this is like there's a smooth side and a rough side on this, but it doesn't matter whatever side you want to use. I'm just fold it in half lengthwise, end to end. And then open it up. Actually, yeah, open it up and fold it in. Or actually, I'm going to do it differently. Sorry about that. We're going to do the wave to shore thing. So I've got this little mountain right here. See the mountain that's in the middle? I'm going to just bring my mountain right up to the top edge. We're just dividing it into 4. And I'm going to bring this bottom one up to that top edge as well to make 4 equal sections. So we have 4 equal sections now, and we're going to reverse the folds on the 2 outer pieces. So we have 3 mountains. You can see them going along the length of the paper. And we're going to take those mountains and we're going to bring them up to the shore, just like in a nice peaceful way. It's like waves lapping up to the shore. And I'm just bringing it up, and then I'm creasing what's underneath, bringing up my paper up to that top part, and I'm going to crease underneath, bringing my wave. This 3rd wave goes up, and I crease underneath what's underneath. And then the last page or the last piece, I will just bring it right up to that top part. Now what we have now are 8 sections with mountains and valleys. So this is an accordion fold, but this is like the best way to do an accordion fold. So this is a nice little accordion. So we're going to reverse all of the valleys into mountains. Just take your paper and go through and just not making new creases, but reversing your existing creases. Okay, so now we have all mountains. So we take our little top edge and we bring all of our mountains over to that shore, to the top edge. And then to crease what's underneath, bring your second mountain to the top edge. And just be careful to, keep those edges, keep this right here nice and even. Crease what's underneath. Bring that mountain up, or wave to shore, or mountain to shore, whatever visually or mentally that you can remember this. And just get those nice and even. And kind of check your work just to make sure that it's flush. Sometimes if I've got a camera right where I'd normally put my head, so I just want to make sure that that is even up there. And you can just check it by just kind of peeking, right? Just put your head right over it. Like, you better get in there and do it, but I can't do it. I'll hit the camera. So I'm just going to keep bringing those waves up. And you can make the tiniest of accordions this way. I love this thing, this way to do this. Okay, bring the last one. So now we've got 16 sections, and we are finished with let's see how we have a beautiful even accordion. So put your accordion down and keep it folded, and have your top flap open from right to left, kind of like how you would a book. So now you're going to imagine this is your spine edge, and these are your pages as you fold. So we're going to take this corner, all of these corners are going to be folded to that back spine edge. You're going to fold the top and the bottom corners just right to that spine edge. So here, now this is what this is determining your book page is going to be right here. I can see it where these little folds are. which is like 2 inches, about. It's a little bit less. And this is about, it's a little over 1. It's 1 1/8, but we'll see what happens when it all gets folded together. So we're going to take that, we're going to open it up, and we're just going to take the next layer and fold the little corner right to the back crease, right to that crease. Don't want to go over, don't want to go too far. Just try to get it as accurate as you can. And just give that a really, really strong crease with either the back of your thumb, or you can use your bone folder, just something to get that that fold really, really there. And now I'm going to turn my page. And I'm going to take the next layer. And I'm going to fold these down just to that back crease. Open, and we're going to bring these corners, all of the corners, go through all of the pages. One thing we're going to do too as well is we're going to make a cover for this. That's why I had you gather a 6-inch square paper. Our cover is going to be made from a 6-inch square, so that all of this is just going to go together, and these are things you've done before, so that kind of makes it nice that you've done it before. But everything, the components of this are all pretty easy to do, but they just end up so cute when you put them together. I'm just folding all these, and some of my paper is shifting, and that happens. Just kind of watch for the shift. Try to correct it before it gets out of hand, before it shifts too far off. You just kind of check your folds, make sure they have nice sharp corners and that they're even. And all of it has to do, if you have a precise cut, your 4-inch by 18 should be exactly 4 by 18 and not off a little. Otherwise, you may have some, cattywampus shaped books, and that's okay too. Just so you know, that's how we want to make sure that our papers are exactly the right dimension to get an even book. So I'm just going through each layer, and I'm starting to see some kind of, it starts at the ends of the paper because of the shifting, and the papers do stretch a little. This one's starting to kind of act a little weird, but I'm just going to keep working it. And then the very last page, you just actually fold it over and then bring those corners back to the spine edge. And I have a lot of shift here, I see a lot. So you can see, if you look here on mine, my pages are kind of staircasing. So right now is the time for me to adjust that. So for some reason, it just wants to do that. So I'm just going to kind of try to shift it all and flatten it and kind of recrease it so that it all is more even. And now it's better. So now this is a little bit more flush, and this is a little more flush. And you can just do that by kind of pushing it around a little bit. You can be the boss of the paper. Okay, so now after all that careful folding, we're gonna gently unfold it. Be careful, if it's rice paper, comes apart real easy, but your common, your office paper, you need to unfold each piece because you don't want to tear it. This rice paper doesn't tear, so not easily anyway. But just take it apart very gently so that you don't tear the little parts in here. There we go. Get it so that but you want to save those creases you just made. Those are you're going to need. Let's go slowly and carefully, because I've ripped many of them trying to take it apart really fast. Okay. So now we've got. Yes.
This is Marlene.
Hi, Marlene.
Oh. I have a question for you.
Sure.
The foldings that you're doing, I'm just sitting here watching you here, and I enjoy watching. I'm having lunch at the same time. But the project you're working on, is that only done on rice paper, or can you do it on something else as well?
You can do it on regular office paper, rice paper, masking paper, something thin.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we have this thing happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to reverse folds. We're not making new folds. So I'm just going to leave these alone in the first part on the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what really works the best is if I just take my fingers, my thumb and forefinger on this ridge here, And then I'm just going to push this in and reverse so that it tucks in on both sides. You want to do that. You want to take this fold and you want to tuck it in. But you're not creating a new crease. You're just tucking in and reversing so that it will look like that. So you can see that's how it should look. And we're going to do this on all of the pages. And this is just like a time where you take your time to get it just so that it looks, feels right, and just take your time on that. Like the rice paper does it fabulously. It does it so easily. But I've used the office paper, and it's a little harder, but you can do it. There we go. Because the papers in the rice paper has a fiber that gives it much more strength, longer fibers than, let's say, your common, your paper from your printer that is much shorter fibers, so it is more delicate. That's why I love having rice paper in my stash, because I use it for more than just, I rarely use it for what it's intended for, but it's so strong and it's thin, but it's really strong. I'm just going to push this in until I get that crease reversed. And that's really the best way to do this one.
Where do you buy your rice paper?
You can get it online at art supply stores. This paper is it's from Yasutomo, and I'm just going to write, okay, this actually, if I have the actual package, I know I do. I would suggest and you can go to Yasutomo directly or buy it. I think even Dick Blick sells this. I know Dick Blick sells this paper. This is the stuff right here. This is it's not called Kozo. It's just called rice paper. That's an old package. This is the item number 6JM. And the other paper that I like is called, this one's the 18 inches long. So there I have my 18-inch long. I can get a lot of use out of that pad because I can make a lot of books with that. Plus I do a lot of mixed media. I do my jelly printing on it. I do all kinds of things. And this is the other one that I like. This is smaller. It's a 9x12, and it's 6H. And you can, if you just type in Yasutomo 6H, there'll be probably, I know Blick and Yasutomo has a Shopify site, so you can get it anywhere. And it's really reasonable for, 48 sheets. This is a little thicker than the 18-inch. So those are I love using them. And it's not because I used to work for them, it's just that I really like their paper. It's reasonable and it's very strong. So here we're just going to keep reversing the folds. This one's not, there we go. Because I pre-wet this, or I sprayed it with acrylics. What else is neat is spraying it with acrylics. It gave it a strength because it added that polymer, it soaked full of the acrylic. So that kind of strengthened it and made it a little bit different in handling, but still it's going to be really fun as a final finished book. Just reverse all those. Okay, so now I've got all my little parts, and this is where the magic happens. So you've got this beautiful little accordion. You can play music. No, but it's just such a sweet little thing. I'm just going to close it up, and here's the magic part. We open up the first page, and we have this shape, this oblong, some kind of shape, and we're just going to take these points, and we're going to fold them to the center, and just kind of have them follow. And just kind of fold your points down. And now we have our very first page that has now a pocket. So when we insert, now it has a little pocket. You can see here, and I know some of you have done this book before, but there's the little pocket. And we're going to make all of them this way. So we're going to open up the next page. And this, if I haven't mentioned it before, I think I have. This book was designed in a blizzard by Hetty Kyle, and that's why it's called the Blizzard book. So it is it's my very favorite structure. I just think it's delightful to fold. It combines origami and book arts. And if you haven't gotten her book, it's amazing. It doesn't have this in it, but it is amazing. So, and I believe her daughter actually co-wrote it with her. So it's a beautiful mother-daughter collaboration. So I'm just going to create these pages all the way through. Go through each of the layers. And if you can't get your fingers like mine or feeling chubby today, you can always use your bone folder. And just make those, try to get these corners right. Sometimes you might have to adjust a little. The corners are probably more important to have the corners sharp than have these totally lined up in the center. And just go through the whole book. And I'm hoping that our paint's close to being dry because we're going to do we'll insert our swatches before we make the cover, and I'll tell you why we do that in a minute. Okay, so this one I just need to get that corner nice and sharp, and it's a little off in the center, but that's okay. Of course, it might make everything else off, but that's what happens. They say shift happens. So I'm going to pull these down. This was fine. And keep going and throughout the length. Okay, we're getting to almost to the final page. And yep, this is the final page. Okay, just bring those points up. Bring them to the center, and now close your book. And just kind of fold these parts. These aren't going to be showing very much. They're going to be tucked into the cover. And just adjust your book to get, so here's our spine edge, and here's our pockets. And the book is now done. We've got this adorable little cute book. I should bring my camera down because it looks so tiny on there. Okay. So here we've got our book, and this is cute just by standing alone. You can make your swatches, and without a cover, you'd have a little carousel swatch book. But we're going to do the covers because I thought it was so much fun. But not yet. What we're going to do now is hopefully our colors are dry. Yep, feels like they're pretty dry. So I'm just going to take these, and I've decided, I don't know which ones I'm going to do, but I'm going to do some of them. So to do this, if you have scissors, you need to measure your final book because everybody's slightly different, but mine is approximately, I'm going to go into the center of it. I'm going to make my measurement from the center. So I've got about, it should be similar to you, about 1 3/4, a little bit more, but I'm going to do a 1 3/4 by 1 inch swatch. That's what I need to cut all of my little squares or my little rectangles. So I'm just going to start by this first one because that's probably the driest. And you can do it with scissors, you can take your scissors and just cut them out. But I'm just going to go do this. I'm just going to start by cutting out my first row. And if you want to measure and be really exact, if you don't have a paper cutter, you can just take your, you can do it on the back side of it, kind of cut an approximate, kind of like this. So you've kind of centered so you want to have as much of your swatch as possible. So you can now, at this point, you can make your marks. This is the slow way, but hey, whatever works. So I'm going to do a 1 inch, 1 inch from here. And actually, I can make, okay, so if I'm going to move this from this point here, there we go. I'm going to make a mark here. And then I can just draw a line from there to there. That's one way to do it. I'm just doing this way if you don't have a, and at this point, you don't have a paper cutter, and that because not everybody has all the supplies. Some people are supply people, and some people don't have a more minimal approach, and that's good too. So I've got my measurements, and it doesn't have to be perfectly exact. I'm going to just cut with scissors. It works just with a good, decent pair of scissors. You can get the same effect that as if you were using a fancy paper cutter. So here I've got my swatch, and I think it's a little too big. I believe it. Yep, it is. So it's a little too long. Which I can just cut, just trim it. You can get all of your swatches in your book like this. So now I can just slide it in, and now I've got my first one. like that. So that, oops, that's how you want to do them. So I'm just going to cut. I'm going to go a little faster here. The reason we want to do the swatches before we put our cover on is it's really important to, I'm going to bring that up a little. We want to see how thick our book's going to be. Our final book is going to be thicker than if we put the cover on without the swatches, see how thin that is. But with the swatches, it gets a lot thicker. So we want to wait until our swatches are on there before we make our covers. So I'm just going to start by cutting. I love having this little trimmer. It's only, I don't know, I think it was $10 back when I first bought it. I don't know what it is now. Things have gone up. I know they have. So I'm just going to kind of just want to see how this 1 3/4, I want to keep some of that pink. I've made such a big swatch, I'm not going to save it. Oh well. Just not going to overthink it. So this is about 1 3/4. And I've got this little cute swatch. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my very first page. It doesn't matter which direction you put it in, and we want to fill every single page, every single one. And that should fit just fine. If it doesn't, just trim it, because you don't want it sticking out of your book. This is the first page, and actually even though that's going to be hidden in the cover, the actual piece of watercolor paper really kind of keeps it more firm, and it will help the whole overall look. So we're going to keep adding. So cut your papers however you do it, and then keep your little trimmed pieces. You might use that for your cover. I'll explain that in a minute. Keep little pieces that you want to keep, because you never know. You might need it. You might find a use for it. So I'm just going to trim. What I love about this is I can make a cattywampus if I want it to start, and then once you make your first cut, then you just follow the square it up, basically. This is my purple and green combo, which I think is really neat. Kind of dried really nice. Well, 1 3/4, so I need to do it right there. So we've got that one, and just going to stick it in my book. Really, you can change these out. You can make notes on the back side. You can draw. I mean, there's no limit. I mean, you could just make this a little mini journal if you want. It'd be kind of fun to just maybe put a quote in there or a verse, just as an inspiration for your days, or to give as a gift. I think that would be fun. Like a nice little pocket prayer book or a pocket affirmation book, whatever. Something that just gives you joy and inspiration. Or your friends or your loved ones. Why not? We need that. Okay, 1 3/4. So keep trimming your swatches, and they just look so cool when they get trimmed. All that, you can have the rough white edges, but also it just looks really neat to see the blend of the colors. I'm going to save some of these, but I'll throw away some of the small pieces. I'm just taking. This is a beautiful combination here. That lunar, I think that was it wasn't lunar black. I'll show you what happens with lunar black. It looks crazy. You'll see those in a moment. How different they look. This was more of, I believe this was a neutral gray. This was not the lunar black. You can see. 1 3/4 want to go a little bigger. It looks like mine's a little bigger than 1 3/4. That is such a beautiful wash. Yep, there we go. Just slip it right in, and I think it'd be so much fun to do like if I were to take my little pen and just write something really, write on this. Write some very small, tiny writing. Write a beautiful quote or verse or anything that just gives you inspiration. It helps get you through your days. So I've got, this was that opera, and you remember it was that gold. It was a beautiful combination. This one's a very happy color combination. I'm going to go a little bigger than 1 3/4. And if you just wanted to do blank sheets for someone to do their own, I think it's more fun to trim it though, because you can kind of decide where you want your pieces, where you want. If you try to paint on a small sheet like that, it's just going to be a little rough, a little difficult to get anything. Just be hard. So just cutting them afterwards is the best. I think this one I got maybe 10 years ago. They have even smaller other trimmers, but this was a 6-inch. It's 6 inches from here to here. And since I have so much origami paper, I like having a small little cutter to have if I need to just cut my origami paper. So it's just nice and handy. And it's pocket size practically. I'm just going to move those. And look at this combination. The indigo, oh my gosh. Indigo, oh, I love that. There's the lunar black. Look what happens with the lunar black. I used the lunar black on these two. Oh, wow. See what it does? It makes this grain. It's just so, wow. It looks like, to me, that looks like a miniature sky, like a cloudy sky. It's so very, very granular, but it really can be beautiful in a small, if you wanted to do a sky in a very small picture, you could create the sky just by adding that lunar black. It creates that cloud formation. And this looks like underwater, and that one's that's the green apatite. Green apatite does the same thing. It has that granular effect. That's really pretty amazing. So I'm going to cut this up because I've got to put that in there. Remember the lunar black. If you want to go out and try some watercolors, get some of that just to add to all of your other colors. It's just great stuff. And it mixes with every brand. I mean, you can even use it with some pan watercolors. Just like that, I can see, it looks like to me, like if you see that up close, I'm looking at it really, I mean, it looks to me like the ocean. I mean, just kind of want to go walking into it. So that's a joyful color. So make sure if you haven't gotten it, it's a great one to add to your collection. This is a really nice color. That one was the magenta and the green apatite. And that's a pretty neat color combination too. It's really good to study colors, but have fun while you're doing it. It's not supposed to be boring. It should be fun. So we've got, how many do we have to fill? I can keep cutting these. It'd probably be faster, but each page is slightly different. I notice each page one's a little bit smaller, so it's probably best to just trim as you go, depending on which page you're putting it in. Like this one, for some reason, and that's because this corner is a little smushed. It's just not fitting the same as the other ones. So, but you can adjust that. Just keep adding your combinations. Oh, this one's pretty. Yeah, about approximately 1 inch. And it would be interesting to see what you have if yours were about the same. Everyone folds slightly different, and your dimensions will vary depending on how you fold. That's a beautiful swatch. These would be great too, as an idea. If you were to do these swatches, and just cut them into little squares, or if you have a square punch, you can make a grid, which I think would be a fun project. Maybe we could do make a grid tile, like little tiny tiles, and then attach them to your paper. Well, that's beautiful. Attach them to either a canvas or a journal page. A hard substrate would be better probably than a little thin piece. But that is so pretty. There's all kinds of things we can do with these little swatches. So always just have fun doing that. Play with swatches, swatching your colors out. And you've seen my collection. You know how many colors I have. I could be swatching for eons, and I still would have colors I haven't swatched. Let's see. I'm going to just trim that a little more. I'm hoping, and we will have time. Oh, we probably won't. Yes, I want to make that cover. So mine is almost as thick as it feels. See how thick it's gotten? And now that's about almost double the size of the original, without the swatches in it. I think I think we can still fold it. I might as well finish this. Get your little pieces in there. However, if we go over a few minutes, I'd rather you finish this than not. So it's okay if we go over just a little bit, if it's okay with you. I'd like to see this complete from start to finish. So we're just doing a 1 3/4. And I'm going to do, this is a great color. I just thought it was interesting. It dried really interesting. Yes, this is that, that's a black. I believe that's just a neutral gray with that beautiful Aussie red gold. And that is so pretty. You can take markers and pens and draw or doodle on these as well. So let's see where we are. We're getting close. But it's so important to get your pages filled before we make that cover. Because we will use the spine and we'll use the book as a template for a cover to be able to make the cover fit. Okay, we're going to get that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And if I at least get to and if I'm going to take out this one, the first one, I'm going to put this one in here because the first one won't even show so just leave your last 2 pages blank. So this one, let's see. All right, this one and this one. So I think I've almost got it. We're going to just about get it done. I'll just cut one more piece. I know you might be behind because you might not have this fast cutter, but I really do want to make sure you see the cover and the whole process. Okay, done. All done. So what I have now is actually, this one's the last one right here. So all the pages have been filled except for the last 2 end pieces right here. Those 2. Those are going to get tucked into our cover. So now I've got it filled. And now you see why it's almost double. So I guess if you wanted to make your cover before you put your swatches in, you would just want to make it thicker. But this is what we need to do now. Okay, here comes the cover. So you have a 6-inch square, kind of like, this is some paper. It's black paper that I had done some jelly printing on. But whatever you have, could be. This is some use-in paper that I did. But now this one I would paint the opposite side because that is going to show. So it's nice to have double-sided paper if you have it. If you don't, that's okay. You can always fix that. So here we're going to do. If you remember this fold, we're going to fold this in half. They basically color side down. So it's your 6-inch piece of paper, folding it in half, color side down. You don't need anything else except for the book and the cover sheet. So we've got that, and now we're going to make a little hem on either side. It's going to be a small one this time. I'd say a little bigger than 1/4 inch. You just want to make a little hem. See, on both sides. Okay, now here's where we determine. So we've got the hem on both sides. We've got this center part here. This is where we need to determine where we're going to do the next thing. I take my spine and I lay it right across the middle, and I'm just going to make a little mark with a pencil, whatever you have, just a little mark on both sides on this, so you can see that is my mark. That's where I'm going to fold this folded edge to, right here. And I'm going to give a little room, so I'm going to fold it just a little bit outside of that. I want to have it even. I mean, I could have marked on both sides, but I think one is fine. I'm going to fold that next fold to that. So I've got these. You can see now I've got that spine edge width. You can double check it just by putting it down on your cover. So that's the spine edge width. Okay. So the next thing is we open those up and we make a little fold, corner fold to that last crease you just made. We've done this before. This one's actually that little card case that we made a few months ago or a few weeks ago. I don't remember, but we did do a card case that holds credit cards, and we had one that made it out of a larger sheet. This is the same, essentially the same fold, but with a little adjustment. So now I'm going to put those little corners back down. So now we have this. So we've got this. This is our, okay, so that's our spine edge, and that's going to be showing. And now we need to fold the length. So I'm going to make a fold. I'm just going to start a fold. I'm going to have my solid side facing up. And I'm going to make a fold that goes, and I'm going to make that, I could do it with my pen, which maybe is smarter, is to make a little notch of where I'm going to make that fold. I'm going to do it right there because I want to measure just a little outside of my little spine of my little book length here. So I'm just laying it next to it. I want to give it a little room. And I see my mark needs to be right there, so I need to fold it right there. And I can just kind of just confirm that's what I'm doing. I'm going to fold it right now that way. So I've got now I have this length. So you can see that part right here is, okay. So this is I love this little fold. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to fold it over right where that crease is. I'm just folding it so that I know where it is. I really want to just tuck this in. So what I'm going to do now is I probably folded it too far or not enough. There we go. Just fold it over that fold. You can see I just folded, this next fold just goes over it. So now I have the right length, or I could, adjust it. This is the time, if you're going to adjust it, if you want to make it shorter or longer, this is the time. Like, I'm just going to make it a little bit shorter. I'm just kind of adjusting it. And I'm going to just fold that over, and then I'm going to check it next to that side of that book. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to crease it pretty well, and I'm going to tuck these points in right in here, just like you've done before. You tuck these in to the corner. You tuck these little short corners into the pockets. There we go. Just tuck them in, and if your paper, depending on the kind of paper you have, you're going to have to kind of play with it a little bit. There we go, like that. So now we have this. So the next thing is we're going to all we need to do is take the spine edge that we have, we're going to make a nice crease right along that spine edge. And we want it to match, there we go. I want it to match this. I want it to be able, and this is a little bit long, I can see. So I'm going to adjust this. I noticed it's too long. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to adjust a little bit. I'm going to tuck it. I'm going to go a little bit. I think what I did before is I just cut it. I remember doing that. So I'm going to cut a little bit off. Just enough. It's just a little too long. I'm just going to cut that part right here. And then when I fold it down, I can actually fold it. This is all hidden, so no one will see your cuts. So I'm just going to adjust it a little bit farther so that this is not too far, you don't want it too long. There, and that's going to probably be a little better. Still big, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so I could right now tuck this into here, which would probably look better. It's tucking the long end into the short end. And this takes a little work. You just have to kind of tuck it in. And I'm going to just bring that up as far as it will go. Yeah, that looks a little better. There we go. That's what I wanted. All right. So now I have this little thing. Now I just need to make that spine edge. So I'm just going to fold right here. I'm folding on this side, and I'm going to crease. Give it a nice crease, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Where my marks are, where I had this book, where the book edge was, as you remember, I had those little marks in there. They're still in there. So that's where, I don't know if you can see that, but now I've made this spine. It's like a little slip-on book cover, and it's all ready to go. So now I'm just going to take my little end papers, and I'm going to slide them into the pockets. And whatever side you want to do it on, I guess it matters whatever you want your cover side to show, if you want whatever side you want to show. So put your one end paper into one side. So I'm going to take this, I'm just tucking it in and going to take a little, just slide it on in all the way as far as it'll go. Close your book and then take your other cover paper and slide that, or your front, it's not a cover paper, it's your first page. I'm going to slide that in and just slide it. And if you need sometimes a little, maybe sometimes a bone folder, like right now mine's bending too much, so I'm just going to kind of get it in there. And sometimes even having your piece of watercolor paper might help to keep that straight. So I'm going to do that. Like this little piece of paper that I had, my first swatch. Let's see, I'm going to trim it a little so that I can get that in there. Because this is a little there. It's just a little soft. Yours might not be that way because if you're not using rice paper. Because I am using rice paper, it's a little soft. So now I'm just going to go ahead. Now that should be a lot easier to put in there, put inside the pocket. Yep. So now we have a adorable little book with little pages. There we are. Yay! Kind of came out nice. And this part I can see is a little on the tall side. You can see that it's just kind of short. This book is too short. It's not that it's too short. This is too tall, but I can adjust that without a problem. Now you can notice it's opened and it wants to stay open. One last thing that I like to do is I put on a little band to make, oops, that one I glued right onto it. There you go. So I slide it on. It's a little belt. You can see it's put on like that. So I'm going to show you quickly on how to do that. And we're a little bit over time. I'm hoping if you hang in there with me. To make that belt, what I did was I just folded a 2-inch by 6-inch strip of paper, kind of into a bias tape kind of thing. And then I used glue, which I don't know if I mentioned you need glue for this part. I'm just going to grab a piece of paper just to keep it under, just to keep my table protected. I'm just going to put a generous amount. Now, you want to put a lot of glue on this because the glue will help stiffen the paper afterwards, which will make it a nice, for a nice belt. So I'm just going to put that, really make it nice and gooey. Get lots of glue on that. I mean, really, be more generous than you think because you want it to soak in. Oops, I really got it in there. You want it to soak into the fibers of the paper and to really just kind of make a nice soft belt. Of course, now I've got glue all over my fingers. There we go. I'm just going to even wipe it off a little bit. I think I overdid it. Got a little wet wipe here. And I've got a nice, soft, pliable piece of paper. And now I can actually wrap it around, but I don't want it to be sticky. Otherwise, it will stick to the book. But if you want to just use a piece of scrap paper or something, you will just wrap and kind of do the wrap. Make sure I don't want that. It's going to stick. You can put some wax paper too if you want to use that. So take your strip that you're working with and just wrap it around your book. You can trim it, which this time I'm going to trim it. I'm not going to do a belt. I'm going to do a different thing this time. You just want to have some room to overlap you don't want to go too short, otherwise it won't hold together. So here I've got it nice. That's probably the size I want. You can see it's just enough to hold it together. And I'm going to take more glue out because I really overdid the glue. But you have working time with the glue here. If you go too long, it will stiffen up. But if you just keep it before it dries, you have time to mold it to the shape you want. And then you can use a little piece of scrap paper. So like if I take a little piece of scrap paper and I want to put it on the book here, I've just got a little piece right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the scrap paper on top of the cover like that because I don't want it to stick when I put the glue on. I'm just going to wrap it. And I can kind of adjust where I want to make that happen, where I want to glue it. And then I'll probably put a little element or a little embellishment on top. I think that's important. Got to cover up the little seam there. And I'm just going to put some glue here. And definitely important to have something underneath this because otherwise it will stick to your book. And then just kind of work it. It's very pliable right now. Mine's just moving around. Just get it so that it's really it closes the way you want it. You can adjust it. But once you let that dry, it's going to be a nice little stiff little cover. And then you could put something on top of it. Maybe one of the galaxies or another swatch. Like I think I remember I had that little piece of green. I had a little piece of swatch, or I can actually, the orange, that'd be cool. I can put this on top and glue that on, which I think would be fun on top of the belt part, which I'll do that shortly here. Just want to make sure this is lined up. And you have time to reposition and tighten it if you want. And then what you do is you let it dry in that spot. And then once it dries, it will be formed to that shape forever. It's going to be like this one is. It's a very nice stiff piece here, and it will hold my book together if I want it to. I like that idea that I could put a title on it or something like that. So to cover up that little spot, I'm just going to glue. I'll just do this right here. Put some more glue, and I'll put this little swatch to cover up that little seam, and it also gives me a place to write a title. It's also I like the color the contrasting color. Okay, so we did it. The book is done, and I'm going to let it sit like this. I need to leave it until that glue sets, and then I can pull it off, and then it's done. So yay! I'm sorry it took longer. I'd love to see what you've done.